Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show you guys how I have started making little wire wings. Um, they're not as neat and tidy yet as I would like them to be, but I at least wanted to teach you guys the concept here. So we're going to start with some polymer clay to make our own little template. So you'll need polymer clay, 18 gauge wire, 24 gauge wire, or whatever materials you have directly on hand. Fake it till you make it, guys. We can make this work. So let's get started. So to make the template for our wire wing, I'm using just some scrap clay here. This is an old tissue blade, so it's kind of grody. But I'm just gonna kind of slice along, get a nice clean edge as best we can. And then I am going to cut at a right angle, right there. And now I'm going to grab a larger tissue blade, and I'm going to cut crosswise, just like this. Boop. So removing that excess clay. And so here we just have a tight angle, and this is the wing that whenever I was making the prototype, that is the wing that I used. And it came out pretty well, but I had some qualms about it that I'm going to be fixing in this template, hopefully. So first and foremost, I want my edges rounded. And you can, by all means, experiment with different template shapes to see what different wings you're able to accomplish. But keep in mind, to get that nice kind of curve for how is on this wing charm, that comes after the fact. We'll deal with those details a little later on. Removing a little bit of excess there off the tip because it's a little too delicate. And now I have this chisel tool. This is actually a leather working tool, but just something sharp and flat and pointy. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to imprint, and we're making almost a little stair step coming in as much as we can. I actually think I'm going to have to cut and remove as opposed to just smush. Yeah, cutting and removing works a lot better. Because what's going on here is I just want a nice little notch that the wire will sit in. So it's not so important that this template looks like a wing as it is that the final piece looks like a wing. Okay, so here we have some little pieces that I'm just gonna take a chunk out, take a chunk out. And so it turned out to be pretty good that I made this much longer than what I thought would be necessary, because I'm ending up having, boop, to take about that much off. Now I'm just getting a little bit of shaping done. Now what's really important here is that it'll be easy to slide this template out of our wire wrapping. Sharpening up these corners a little bit because that is going to be right where the clay is sitting. Not the clay, the the wire. Okay, so there we are. I'm going to pop this into the oven, and then we will be right back shortly. Okay, so I have just pulled it out of the oven. It is quite hot. I'm going to toss that off to the side so it can cool. Get this tile out of the way where it can also cool. Also, just so y'all know, I baked this. This was mostly Sculpey with possibly some like Fimo mixed in. I baked it at 275 for about 20 minutes. So it's still a little, ouch, it's really hot. It's still a little flexy. That's normal. But it's baked down into a nice little polymer. So we're going to let that cool. And the next step, because I want to show you guys as we kind of progress and do this, this was the original prototype piece that I had made for a client. Let me get the chains all straightened out. And I was really pleased with how it came out. But, I mean, that's just kind of, just gives you an idea. It was a set for a lady's wedding. It was really nice to get to make it. But I was doing it at, like, quite late at night, just struggling, fighting with these wings, because I was using this wing here as a template to wrap them on. And that's where I got the idea to make my own out of polymer clay. So now that y'all have seen what we're trying to do, let's see, because I bet we could make like some individual wings, but honestly I think I might do, yeah, let's just do some individual wings. So for this one, normally I use 26 gauge for my wire weaving, but I really wanted the fringe, like the little feathers of the wings, to be very secure. So I'm going to use 24 gauge. They're not secure so much as durable. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'm hunting down all of my pliers from across all of my different various workstations. I'm using 18 gauge copper cord para-wire here. And I've cut 2 lengths of it. Let me see. Yeah, that'll work. And now this is something that you do not want to have to splice in more wire. So I am getting off a full arm span of wire for 1 feather. And I'm going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see I'm just wrapping around here. And that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rotations. And now I'm going to use my flush cutters and just snip. Using my bent nose pliers to really butt that down, get it nice and right where it needs to be. And then I'm going to press this down even further towards the end of our wire, because I want to be building this way, like towards my right hand. And so to do that, I'm going to add in the second wire on top, and then I'm going to wrap twice around both. So there's 1 and 2, just like that. And now I'm going to wrap, and this is where it's really hard on my hands. It's why I really prefer the thinner wires, but 26 gauge I think would just be too fragile. So I've done 10 wraps around one, 2 wraps around both, and then 1 wrap. And then I'm going to pick up our template. Sorry for my sniffles. My allergies have just been relentless this allergy season. And I'm going to try to get this as close to the tip of our template as I can. This is also why I've started doing 2 cameras at all times, is because I know I'm not good at staying in frame, so I'm either going to be twice as bad at it or twice as in frame. So we'll see. Okay, so our template fell out, but these first couple are, I think, the hardest. So there you can see I've wrapped around the template, and then once around one, once around both, which we can actually get the template just straight up out of the way for that, and then once around one again. And so now let's kind of gently cram our template back into its place. And there's enough room to do at least 2 repetitions of the wrap on each step, for lack of a better term. So I'm wrapping around the template like that. Wrapping once around one. Wrapping once around both. And then wrapping once around one again. And the reason why I have this top wire is it really does give us a little bit more stabilization of these wires. It makes them less like wobbly and wonky, I think. Without having to do, I guess I could just do 3 rotations on the one wire, but I was experimenting last night. I wish I'd gotten it on camera, but I was just too focused on completing the project. And it was just too wobbly and fragile for my preference with just the one. But if you're doing this, please, I encourage you to do your own experimentation. Find out what works for you, for yourself, because something that I did not have good results on may be exactly perfect for you. So experiment away. So there, I've done 1 rotation, and I've moved up to the next step on our template. 1 rotation around the one. 1 rotation around the both. And also, this weaving pattern isn't even that important. I just recommend that whatever you decide to do, just be consistent about it, because that consistency will make it look intentional. So around one, around both, around one. Next step on the template. I'll tell you what though, this is a lot easier after a full night's sleep. Around one, around both, and around one. Just like that. And also right now, it's not even too terribly important that they're not perfectly straight. Like, this will be okay. This is replicating something from nature. It doesn't have to be perfect. So there's that. And also, you could do just a straight-edged triangle. I found it was a little easier to not have to constantly be dealing with the sliding and stuff by having the jagged edge. But again, if you're making your own template, experiment with a bunch of different designs. I mean, especially if you've got some extra scrap clay laying around. So just like that. So there's one. And I think I like being consistent about just putting 2 wraps on each step. And if you're just making a single feather, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to make symmetrical sides, it'll really help you to be more symmetrical if you have 2 wraps on each step. Just like that. Also, if I had the 16 gauge wire, I would totally be using 18 gauge for the top one and 16 gauge for the middle one, just for a really nice, like, I don't know, cool effect. I think that would look really neat. Because I'm sure if you bumped this up to a 16 gauge or even a 14 gauge instead of an 18 gauge for these wires, you could get away with maybe doing a 20 gauge for your wrapping wire. But that would be, oh my god, so hard on my hands. But I bet it would look cool. And sometimes that's the point. Okay. I'm going to see if I can't find something to set this camera up on to give y'all an elevated view. Like a little bit better of a view of what I'm doing. So I have a dog food bowl and an anvil with my camera on it. And yes, that's totally better. Okay. Live and learn, guys. Live and learn. Thank you for being patient with me. I am going to adjust this top camera a little bit more now too then. Perfect. Ah, excellent. Okay, this should make my life a little easier. Okay. So there's 1, 2. Except for now it's making that noise. So, sorry, there's no winning. Just kind of wrapping and coiling. It's getting a little bit more consistent too as my hands warm up, but it really is the hardest right there at that beginning. Because I had also tried doing this with just stacked wires, but as I would get deeper in, they would get more and more like kind of crunched up on themselves and each other. And so I wanted something solid like this that I wasn't going to have to worry about squeezing too hard and my wires bowing and buckling and stuff. So pretty excited to be sharing this with y'all, because this is something that I learned how to do just last night. Because I had seen some really cool like wire wrapped owls and different things like on Pinterest and shared in some of the wire wrapping groups I'm on in Facebook, but it never occurred to me like how that might work. And then I had a custom order for a lady for her necklace, or her wedding is Harry Potter themed. And so she was like, I really like chain drapes, and like she told me the stuff that she liked, and I was getting all kinds of inspired and challenged and stuff to come up with something, you know, hopefully perfect. And I was like, you know, I really like the, you know, snitch idea of, you know, you've caught the golden snitch, you know, it's, you know, something precious and rare and difficult to attain, and it's like, you got it, you did this, you're doing great. And so I was like, well, what about, you know, if we do your wedding colors and I do like a wire wrapped snitch? And she was like, oh yeah, I love it. And I was like, excellent. And then I was like, crap, how am I going to do that? So instead of just using, though, you know, online I see a lot of, you know, Harry Potter Quidditch snitch jewelry made with these styles of wings. And at first that's what I was going to do, but I only had one. And I was like, oh no. And then I was like, you know, I want to make this a little bit more unique and special for her. Because, I mean, it's a wedding. That's a big deal. And so I was like, well, let me see. So I started trying to do wire woven wings, and that wasn't like, I mean, I tried like 5 or 6 different things, and none of it was coming out right. And so I actually pulled up reference images of a snitch from Harry Potter, because at first I was working on memory, but that's always clouded by our lens of perspective. And so I looked at their feathers, like the wings of the snitch, and they were really interesting, like feathery kind of kind of wing, so I was like, ooh, I'll do that. And that's how this started happening. So that's probably why I really love taking on custom commissions, because your vision, like as a client, might be something that I've never even thought to make before. So taking on custom work really helps me grow as an artist, I think. And it certainly pushes my comfort zone and boundaries of, you know, things to do. And we're getting down to the... It's coming along nicely. And it doesn't use a whole lot of wire up here at the top. It starts really going through it down here as our template gets thicker, or wider, rather. There's the first little chip on our template. And I'm actually pretty surprised at how well the polymer clay is holding up, because I didn't even let it cool all the way. Like, it's still quite warm and a little malleable, but I think that's just fine. Okay, so now we're getting to the thickest part. This is where I think it's perfectly okay. Oh god, I can't get it out. Oh no. We're going to come in with our fingernail and kind of ease everything off of the template. Even if it's just going one little piece at a time, you're still getting it off of there one at a time. And some of them don't want to come as much. That's okay, we'll figure it out. This is another reason why I'm really glad I did it out of polymer clay, is because I can also always be very careful, y'all, and especially Vaughn, like I'm talking to you, self. You can come in and kind of cut away. Oh no, that just made it worse. On a design, like, I need that to not be dipping in like that, but at least now I can get it off. And there's just, I've got a potted plant up here that I brought in from outside, so there's little ants just crawling everywhere, and it's driving me insane. Like, I took the pot back outside, but now there's just ants over in my spot, and I'm like, ah, you belong outside, little bugs. Okay, so I'm just kind of pulling gently. I feel like I've totally fudged up all of my little wing feathers. Just give me my wire template. There we go. So now, and this is where it is actually detrimental, I think, I guess, to have something that the wire can bite into. That's the one that's holding it all on. There we go. So now, even though we're not done with the wing, I do want to start doing a decrease, because that's part of what's so nice about this one, is it does round back down. It doesn't just chop off at the thickest point. So I've pulled it back in, and I'm going to do 2 wraps on the next setting in. Let me get that out of the way. So there's 1 around 1, 1 around 2, and 1 around 1. Then I'm going to do the next one. And so you can kind of see how this will let us start doing a bit of a decrease. Maybe. So, and also you can remake a new template every time. I wanted to kind of be able to stay away from that, but I'm sure the more that I make my own templates, the better they'll get, and the less into this stinking... There we go. Sorry. Usually I try to be zen and stuff, but this stuff just makes me want to shake it. Like, come on, template. So you can see how that's going to let us start decreasing again, too. So now... And I think I might just do 1 on each step to really give us a faster decrease. If I can. I guess I've been pulling too tight. There we go. maybe. There we are. Okay. So this one was my trouble one. I'm going to do it really close to the tip of that step. I'm starting to run kind of low on wire. Don't panic, Vaughn, we can do this. One around one around two, one around both. Next step down. Doo doo doo, boop boop boo. So there we are. Fortunately, we're on the decrease, so it's taking less and less wire each time. So, like, it's really hard to try to seamlessly incorporate a new wire on this. So I try desperately to avoid that at all costs. Okay, and I think this one might actually be our last one that I'm going to do. I might do one more. I never know what I'm doing here. Let me scooch this back. In my eagerness, I keep pushing the little bowl that the camera's on forward and forward. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be my last one. So I'm going to remove the template altogether. Get that stuff out of the way. And so right now that does not look like a whole lot. It is not very impressive. It's kind of messy. Let's see if we can't do something about that. First and foremost, I'm going to split that off a little bit, and I'm going to keep wrapping what is, I guess, the stem or the shaft of the feather. And whenever it gets short like that, I just start twisting it with my fingers. Okay, then whenever it gets real short, I grab my bent nose pliers, and I grab like this, and I twist around. And then I compact it down with my fingers. And then I'm going to bring this one back in. Okay, so now is the ultra cool part. I'm going to take it, and you can see I'm coming in with my bent nose pliers. I can actually use my fine-tipped ones for this. Where are they at? I lost them. No, they're right here. Okay. Sorry. So, and I'm going to be consistent about which way I rotate my hand, because I'm going to come in and grab it, just like that, and then twist like so. And you want to make sure you're just grabbing one at a time, and then twisting them to make them lay kind of flat. Oops. Now this is something I didn't really take into consideration with the template, is that it has kind of a boxy flat side. I should have made that edge more pointed, but we'll still figure it out. We're getting this. And so we're just coming through, twisting everybody around. Each individual, I guess we'll call these feathers of the wing. And then as it comes back up nice and short, so you can kind of see just the effect that that has had was a huge difference. So now I have this needle tool that I'm actually going to come in and maybe try to do some shaping. I don't know how successful this will be. Because since I didn't make my template nice and sharp on the edge, oops, and you want to be careful to not scratch or mar or break your wire. But I'm just kind of pulling them down, each individual feather. to maybe give just a little bit more shape. It's definitely working out better on these bigger feathers. You can kind of see the difference in length there that it's achieving. And just kind of pulling and straightening on our longest two now. And now on the rapid decrease. This is also, depending on how you stylize this, you could totally make like some leaves or something. But yeah, so there's that. It's coming together more and more. So now I'm looking at our reference and I want more of a curve up here and more of a kind of curve down here. So that makes it a little S-shaped. So now I can take, again, my needle tool and just kind of displace and redistribute the feathering. That way it's not so clunked up and overlapped there on that part. So there's that. And now I'm still going to come through, one more step still. There's always one more step. And use my nylon jaw pliers to really flatten and work harden these feathers of this wing. And so that way it's a lot more durable. And I think it could use a little bit more direction. So I'm actually going to take this and pull it to the forward. Like, it's these final sculpting details that I think will really help make a difference in the overall feel and effect of this piece. Because if you ever don't know, like, I don't know, just check out some pictures from nature, like reference images of what wings might actually look like. So you can see here, I'm trying my best to stack them kind of consistently. This one got a little out of whack, so I'm just going to put it so they're stacked on top of each other, just the way feathers on a wing would be. Ish. And you don't have to always just use the tool, you can use just your fingernails too. But like pages of a book, just one stacked behind the other. So that gave it a little bit more of a wing feel. It's got this nice like sculpting going on. I feel like I could have done with maybe these two not being so long, but live and learn. I'm going to come in with, I have too many pliers. I better go grab my little round nose. I'm so excited to have these guys with their teeny tiny little tips. Just going to bend that one out of the way. I'm going to trim this one down. Oop, just a hair. And I'm going to trim this top one down as well. And I'm going to start with the top one, and I'm just going to spiral it inward. Just a nice little tip like that. And now I'm going to take this one, and I'm actually going to bend it down just a hair first. And just like that. Again, giving it even more of a little bit of a wing feel. So now on this end, if I had had a little bit more wire, I would have coiled more deeply, like further along. Blasted ants. I'm gonna have to do something. Do y'all have any recommendations for how to get rid of ants without, like, smothering your house in life and chemicals? Like, because I need something. It's just that time of year, I guess, that people start getting ants in the house. Okay. Now I'm using my pliers, and I'm just kind of spiraling this in just a little bit. And this one, I could bend around and spiral inward like this. Grab my nylon jaw pliers and deepen that spiral. And I'm doing that just by grabbing and then rotating and grabbing and rotating. Kind of over bend it a little to get it to fit in with what all's happening here. So that's pretty neat. I do think, you guys, like, I think it could use a little bit of tweaking. I'd love to see what y'all do with your own wings, but I wanted to show you guys at least the concept. Like, yeah, I still feel pretty strongly that I could have done without those two right there, but it gives a little bit more of a tattered, natural angel wing effect. You know, not everybody's wings look like this, you know. But, and I'm going to thread a loop through right there and just make it into a pendant, a little wing. So thank you guys so much for joining me for this tutorial. I hope that it was helpful to y'all. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, I'd love to hear from you. It's still a little messier than I would like it to be, a little unrefined, but I'm really excited to just share the concept with you guys. Because this is, at the time of recording, I literally did this for the first time ever last night on the custom piece that I showed you earlier in the video. So this is, I'm pretty new at it still, but I'm really excited to get to share something new with y'all that I just learned too. So I'm having all kinds of ideas about doing like a snake weave spine that then builds off like onto the sides to make some really beautiful and ornate wire leaves and feathers. There might be some really cool ways of modding this out to do like a peacock feather. Can y'all imagine? Like, oh my gosh, I am like brain blasting so hard here. Yeah, if you guys have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. If you guys like my free tutorials and would like to support the creation of more of them, as well as participate in our bi-monthly Fairy House giveaways, please check us out on Patreon. There's a link down in the video description below. And if you pledge $1 a month, you get your name into the hat for all of our giveaways, and you get to support the artisan education efforts that we're doing here at Back to Earth Creations. And if you pledge $5, you get your name in all the hats 5 times. It's for all of our different giveaways across all of our social media platforms. And then if you pledge $10 or more, you get a kit of tools and materials or gifts mailed to you every month. It's your choice. And you, like, one month you can be like, I want chainmail stuff, and then the next month you can be like, send me something you made, and then the next month you can be like, I like polymer clay. So it's, I mean, you can put in requests and I'll do my best to kind of meet that for you. Also, just a note to our patrons who live in the UK, who prior to late May 2017 time of recording, I had only been mailing off to you like 2 months worth of stuff every other month to kind of cut back on the shipping. Whenever we hit our next tier on Patreon, like our next goal, I'll be sending out every month internationally to everyone. It's just that sometimes, like, if you're only a $10 pledger but you live like in Britain and it's $15 to ship to you, like, but it's all balancing out. We're figuring it out. I've got this. Thank you guys so much for all of your patience, all of your encouragement and support. Go forth and craft, you guys. I'm so excited. I can't even talk. I'm so excited to see what you guys do with this, and to see where we go with it. So I'll talk to y'all later. Give yourselves a big hug from me. Happy crafting, and I'll see y'all around. Mwah. Bye.